What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and today I'm checking out the Gerber Armbar Drive. I got mine in onyx, but it's available in orange and blue as well. And you can find these for right around the $40 mark, depending on which model and color you go with. This is the Armbar Drive, obviously, but there's a slimmer version that's also called the Slim Drive. And that one, you're just gonna lose some of the other tools, but you keep the driver. There's also the Slim Cut, which loses the driver but keeps the scissors, and a corkscrew model, which isn't slim, it's about the same thickness, but has a completely different loadout of tools. So really depends on what you're looking for. This one had tools that appealed to me. I think a really good tool set on such a small multi-tool, and only one tool that I'd really replace if I had to, and even then I don't hate that it's on there. And so let's check out what is actually included on the Gerber Armbar Drive, and we'll start out with the blade, which is on the other side of all of the tools. It's the only thing on this side. It has a thumb hole opening and is definitely one-hand deployable. It feels a little bit clunky, it's stiff. Maybe that'll break in over time, but it's not gonna be a fidgety knife or rapidly deployed, but it works. Now, they didn't specify the steel on Gerber or any of the retailers that I looked on, and I looked on a lot trying to find it, and so I don't know what the steel is, which, again, this is probably gonna be a secondary blade, so not the end of the world, but would like to know what it is just out of curiosity. At under $40 for a blade and 6 other tools, you're probably not getting, any great steel, and we know that, but it would still be nice to know what it is. Now, it's technically a frame lock, and so that works okay. It's, again, a little bit clunky, just kind of a weird placement, and you really have to push down on it to release the blade, which I guess is good that it locks up well. But just overall, it feels kind of just clunky and stiff and not really easy to deploy. I'm sure it'll wear in a little bit over time. I'll clean it up and oil it up, but just out of the box, not super intuitive feeling. So overall, don't love the blade, don't hate it. It's 2.5 inches, and again, it's gonna be a secondary blade for me. If you were holding this as your primary blade, it's kind of a letdown for me, but overall, I don't mind that the blade isn't really the star of the show here because, again, I'm gonna be carrying it as a secondary, so not the end of the world. Now I'm gonna start on the end here. This is actually 3 of the tools. And so you can see it on the end, it has this strike pad, which is a hammer. And again, you're probably not gonna use this as a heavy duty hammer, but if you just need to get a nail flush or flatten something out or crush something, it'll do the job. And so probably wouldn't want to do a lot of heavy use because it is kind of on one of the main screws holding this whole tool together, and so you don't want to damage that, but you can use it for light use. And this actually flips up, so you can just push it and it will flip up into both a pry bar and a bottle opener. So of course every multi-tool has to have a bottle opener, so that's where it is. And I don't mind this so much. It's really out of the way, and you get those 3 tools right there on the end, really out of the way. And so like that a lot. Probably not a ton of stuff that I'm gonna use. I'm not gonna use it for heavy prying or heavy hammering, and maybe I'll use it for the occasional opening of a bottle, but not gonna get a ton of use out of them, but I do like the tools that are in that end. Now, the rest of the tools are gonna be on this side. This is where you see that onyx coloring. The backside obviously is just the stainless steel frame. And so whatever color you get, this is where you're gonna see the color. You have the Gerber logo on the pivot. And the first tool that you see is the driver. And obviously this is what the tool is named out of. There's no half stop or full stop on it, which would have been nice because it just kind of freely moves. It's pretty stiff, so it works. I've used it a little bit. I switched out the bit that comes with it. I put it back, so this is the bit that comes with it, double-sided Phillips and flathead. And that works well, and you can use any standard 1/4 inch bits in here. The only thing to keep in mind is that they have to be pretty short, otherwise it's not gonna close. So if you wanna store them in there, you gotta go with shorter bits, otherwise there's not a lot of free space on the end when this is closed. But overall, the driver itself works really well. I didn't have any issues with it not having that full stop. I used it to just tighten an armrest on a chair that had come loose, and the screw was falling out the bottom, and so it worked well. And didn't have it bending at all, but I could imagine if you're really torquing down on something, tightening something, or trying to get a really tight screw loose, that you might have a little bit of slippage and bendage there on the arm, and so it would have been nice if there was a little bit of a full stop there just to keep that from happening. But again, I haven't actually had any issues with it, just something that if I were redesigning it, that's something that I would add. Now the other two tools in here are right behind there. They're accessible both with this closed or open, and so you just have this little thumb cut out where you can put your nail in there and pull these out. The first tool is the only one that I might consider replacing, and that is the awl. And so don't hate that it's included, but I have a lot of Swiss Army knives specifically and some multi-tools that have awls on there, and it's just a tool that I don't find myself using that often. I know there's plenty of uses for it, it's just one that doesn't get a lot of use from me, so I wouldn't mind seeing that replaced. But they had to put something short here because of where it sits in the multi-tool. The driver takes up a lot of the space on the top half, so they had to put something really short there. So understand the inclusion, but if I were rebuilding this, that's the one that I could really live without. Now the next one right behind it is a pair of scissors. And I was actually super excited about this. I love multi-tools that have scissors. I get a lot of use out of scissors, and so don't mind the inclusion of them at all. They're not perfect. They're a little bit stiff and not the most comfortable scissors, but that's true of a lot of scissor multi-tools and Swiss Army knives. But they work, they cut well, and are fairly smooth. Obviously, this page that I have here is pretty folded, and I've kind of tested on here. Cuts through pretty well, obviously with a single page. No problem, but even folded up, it has no problem cutting through multiple pages. And so passable scissors, I have no real complaints about them. Again, outside of them not being the most comfortable, but that's true of a lot of scissor multi-tools, and so don't hate that either. Now, if I had to get rid of either the driver or the scissors, which you can do by getting the slim model, I would definitely get rid of the scissors because the driver is really the star of the show here for me. That was what I was most excited about. And honestly, I think I like this model better that has both the scissors and the driver. I may actually end up ordering the slim version with just the driver just to kind of check out, compare. You're just going to be losing a couple tools here, but make it a little bit lighter. I don't know if I mentioned the dimensions, so I'm going to mention them real quick. Sorry if I already did. The blade on this, 2.5 inches, pretty sure I mentioned that, but closed, you're at 3.625 inches and about 0.71 inches wide. And it weighs in at 3.1 ounces, so pretty light for a multi-tool. Obviously, that's a little bit heavy for the size of blade if it were just a knife, but for all of the tools included, I feel like 3.1 ounces is extremely light. And at a $40 price tag with the 7 tools that you get, I think they're all very usable tools. I think this is a really, really great deal. So I'm glad that EDC put it into her $200 challenge because I'm super excited to pick this up and have been on kind of a knife multi-tool kick lately. So I have a few of these videos that will be coming out, and this is one of the coolest ones that I've picked up recently. So let me know what you think of these down in the comments below, and if you have any of the other models, if you'd recommend them. I'm considering the slim driver, obviously, because I like the driver on it, but I'm also considering the cork just because it has such a different tool loadout, although I feel like the loadout on this one's a lot more useful for what I use them for. But again, would love to hear your opinions if you have one of the other models in the comments below. But thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification button. And as always, hope you have a great one. Take care.